Y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is well. I want to talk about King Charles's official portrait. Like, um, if these people are not telling you what is about to come upon this earth, I don't know what is wrong, why you can't see it. So, this is the picture. Everybody's been talking about it. I just haven't, had a chance to really get into it. But the fact that it's just red and like blood, fire, um, there's so much symbolism in this picture. I don't want to get into it too much. But the person says the butterfly in this picture, there's a butterfly on his shoulder. And the butterfly symbolizes the beauty of nature and highlights the king's environmental causes. So, they're going to try to tie climate change into everything. But the one little butterfly in all the red, fire, destruction. You can't tell me these people do not know, these spirits know that their time on this earth is ending. Their rule is over. Their reign, wickedness is coming to an end. And so, for the last, say, 2 years or so, you've been noticing, even with like the um, music award shows, the Met Galas, like everything has had this heavy, satanic, um, demonic presence. The reds, the blues, like we're going back to the times of the Phoenicians, with the colors. All this stuff is symbolic. And, if you are not into symbolism, I know a lot of people, especially if you come out of the Christian church, they kind of scared us up and had us afraid to deal with the demonic and the symbolism of it. But these people know, like they own it. We walking around acting like it's nothing but God, like there is no evil, there are no demons, there is no wickedness or principalities, and these things are ruling everything. The principalities are everywhere. They're all around us. They're in our music. They are on our TV screens. They're on the internet. They're everywhere. And so when I saw this picture, it just solidified everything. It was like this is the coronation of evil, like an evil period that's getting ready to come. And I think it's going to start with all these world wars. So whatever is getting ready to happen, whatever they're building up towards, it is to come. But I think it's coming quickly. So let me read to you what this thing says, and just listen at the numbers. Everything is so evil. So the first official painted portrait of King Charles III since his coronation has been unveiled at Buckingham Palace. The vast oil on canvas shows a larger than life King Charles in the uniform of the Welsh Guards wore. Uniform of guards. He has a sword. Notice that in his hand, there's a sword there. The vivid red work, measuring about 8 feet, 6 feet, and 6 inches, is by Jonathan Yeo, or I guess this is Yeo, who has also painted Tony Blair, Sir David Attenborough, and Malala Yousafzai. Queen Camilla is said to have looked at the painting and told Yeo, "Yes, you've got him." In the new portrait, the king is depicted sword in hand with a butterfly landing on his shoulder. Unveilings are always a little nerve-wracking, both for the sitter and the artist, but particularly when one of them is a king. Yeo jokes, if this was seen as treasonous, I could literally pay for it with my head, which would be an appropriate way for a portrait painter to die, to have their head removed. In reality, Yeo isn't going to lose his head, of course. No executions for a badly received portrait of a monarch in modern times, anyway. Fortunately, he has also already had a nod of approval from a key royal figure. The queen dropped in during the final sitting and said the artist had captured the king well. So, the fact that she's acknowledging that he's captured well says something to me too. Just speaks to how all these children of the corn are alike. Yale says the best judge of a portrait is someone who knows your sitter really well because they have instant recognition of whether it feels familiar. So it says the king also got a glimpse of it, says Yale, in its half-done state. He was initially mildly surprised by the strong color, but otherwise he seemed to be smiling approvingly. It is a vibrant painting. The king was made regimental colonel in the Welsh Guards in 1975. In the picture, the red of the uniform fades into the red background, bringing the king's face into even more prominence. Yale says he wanted the painting to be distinctive and a break from the past. He was aiming for something personal. My interest is really in figuring out who someone is and trying to get that on canvas. So it says Yale decided to use some of the traditions of the royal portraiture, the military outfit, the sword, but aimed to achieve something more modern, particularly with the deep color and the butterfly. He says he's referencing the traditional office of royal portraits, but suggesting that something from the past. And what's interesting about them is something a bit different from that, whatever it is talking about. So, anyway, it says in history of art, the butterfly symbolizes metamorphosis and rebirth. He explains, fitting for a portrait being painted of a monarch who was recently ascended to the throne. The butterfly is also a reference to the king's long-held interest in the environment causes he has championed most of his life, and certainly along before they became a mainstream conversation. Yale says it was Charles's idea after they talked about the opportunity they had to tell a story with a portrait. I said, when school children are looking at this in 200 years, why 200 years? They're looking at the who's who in the monarchs. What clue can you give them? He said, what about a butterfly landing on my shoulder? So remember, to them, the butterfly symbolizes metamorphosis or like change or rebirth. So to me, it's like they know their time is up. But also, when you talk about rebirth, they're also coming back to power. So is this an unveiling of the Antichrist? We don't know. Is it going to be the monarch? We don't know. But I just think the timing of it all and the way that this picture um, looks, is this going to be the beast? Will this be the beast? We don't know who the beast is. We don't know who the son of perdition is. We don't know nothing. But we know these people have bloodlines tied to them folks. And so we just need to pay attention and keep watch. Yale says it is, sorry, we had talked about that. So it says Yale began the portrait when Charles was still Prince of Wales with the first sitting at Highgrove in June 2021. Interesting. The king sat 4 times in all for about an hour at a time, with the final sitting at Clarence House in November 2023. Did the artist notice any obvious change in the man after he became king? Yao says he spotted a physical change in politicians he's painted in the past. They physically look and feel different when they're in high office or out of it. Yale adds that the king had already been gaining presence and stature by the time I started it, and it went up a level again when he became king, as you'd expect. So that's interesting that, they talk about he wasn't king yet, but he still had um, the stature and some presence. So that means that probably what he was doing behind the scenes and he saw it working was giving him, was feeding, giving him that energy that he needed and wanted. The sittings ended with the king's cancer, before the king's cancer was diagnosed. He had a lot going on, says Yao, with an upcoming speech at the COP summit, but didn't seem like someone who was physically exhausted. So he was at the COP summit talking about climate change. He was in good spirits, the painter adds. King Charles posed in his full Welsh uniform and had to stand leaning on his sword for around 40 minutes each time. He stood impressively still and didn't get distracted like some sitters do. Yale won't reveal much of what they talked about during the sittings, although he says Charles III has a great sense of humor and is a very engaging person. So, anyway, I'm not going to read any more of this. I will just say that this picture is very interesting, being that these are also the same people that, he comes from the bloodline. His daddy was on an interview talking about there needed to be a reduction in people on the earth. And the fact that this is him in this red background in his red uniform with his sword, his face looking, old and pale and like the oppressor class looks when they age. It's just very interesting. All of it is interesting. It's interesting that an Asian man um, painted this, and this is what he chose to do or what he was commissioned to do. It's all very interesting, but pay attention to the symbolism of what these royals and these higher ups are doing, because they are speaking to us without speaking to us. And those of us who are awakened, you can see all the red, like everything has been just fiery red, just um, lots of like just demonic energy. You could just see it everywhere. For even if you look at the album covers, especially of hip hop artists. I don't know why, but over the last probably 10 years, I just started paying attention to the hip hop covers because I was like, who is designing this stuff? Why is everything evil and dark and demonic and crazy? You can look at some of Chris Brown's album covers. You look at Future's album covers. Just like look at some of the big name hip hop artists that are not independent. I mean, the ones who are industry babies. Their album covers are clearly designed by someone who is giving you codes and clues. Travis Scott, Don Tolliver. Um, Look at some of the hip hop industries album covers. I look at those like I look at the Economist magazine covers, magazine covers. They tell a story. They're telling you about what they're doing to our community in particular, and most people don't know. So that's why when I listen to this music, I listen to it um, to just listen to the messages to see what they're saying. And usually the album covers convey what the artist is saying, which is nothing really, nothing good anyway. But it's just, to me, it's like a spell or curses that they are um, constantly blaring over our people, and they have us singing it and saying it. And it's just everything is just wicked and evil and demonic. So we are really living in a dangerous time because we're under siege and we don't realize that the war is spiritual as well as physical. We're in the spiritual piece of it now. We're dealing with these principalities and they are bold. They're not hiding nothing. They're like, hey, we're going to let it all hang out. So what you got to do is pay attention to all these different, codes, clues, signs, symbols, colors. Pay attention to them because they mean something. I don't know what this means. So if you have any idea, if you have any revelation, knowledge, wisdom that you want to share, please feel free to share it in the comment section. I'm always open to discussions about this type of stuff because it's something that I'm not necessarily aware of, but I know spiritually that it's connected to something demonic and wrong, and we need to really pay attention to these things because the times are getting darker and we can't afford to um, sleep because they're telling us something. What they're telling us, I don't know, but they're telling us something. All right, y'all. This is Marla K. Love y'all, and I'm out.